A couple is getting ready for an exciting night out together. Seeing his girlfriend's stunning figure, Hal can't help but feel a rush of excitement. But when she tosses him a pair of oversized lingerie, Hal is completely stunned, thinking to himself, is this made for someone who weighs 600 pounds? It turns out, Hal has no idea that his vision has been altered by a world-renowned self-help guru. From that moment on, every woman Hal sees appears incredibly fit and attractive to him. To understand how this happened, we need to go back a few days. Hal was riding in an elevator when it suddenly malfunctioned, trapping him inside with the famous Tony Robbins. During their conversation, Hal shared a story from his childhood. He explained that before his father passed away, he gave Hal some strict advice. Find a beautiful woman to marry to improve the family's future generations. As he grew up, Hal spent all his time at clubs just to approach attractive women. However, while he had the mindset of a player, his own appearance was quite average, so no one really paid him any attention. Despite this, Hal remained overly confident. On one occasion, after a neighbor shared a bag of spicy snacks with him, Hal decided she was his girlfriend. He invited her over for a late-night meal, hoping things would get intimate. The girl turned him down immediately because she felt zero connection with him. After hearing this, Tony Robbins realized that this guy was living in a total fantasy world. But considering their chance to encounter a twist of fate, he decided to help Hal get exactly what he wanted, the woman of his dreams. So the guru decided to work his magic and help Hal with a unique spiritual gift. When he finally stepped out of the elevator, Hal didn't feel any different at first. He went to hail a taxi, but noticed a woman waiting for one as well. Seeing how stunning she appeared to him, Hal politely let her take the cab first. They ended up sharing the ride, and as Hal stared at her beautiful face, he was practically head over heels. The girl felt a bit awkward, so to break the ice, Hal showered her with compliments, telling her she looked as flawless as a supermodel. The taxi driver was completely baffled, thinking to himself that this guy must have some very unusual standards. From that moment on, Hal's dating life took a complete 180-degree turn. In the past, whenever he went to a club, he was just a desperate guy that nobody noticed. But now, women were the ones approaching him first, and they all looked like top-tier models in his eyes. They were practically lining up just to get a dance with him. However, all of this was only happening from Hal's perspective. To his friends, the scene looked entirely different. It turns out, the guru's magic didn't actually make Hal more attractive. Instead, it placed a powerful filter over his eyes. Now, he was seeing the world with a heavy-duty beauty lens, as if everyone had been photoshopped 10 times over. His friends pulled Hal aside, glancing at the women around him and asking, "Man, what is wrong with you today?" Hal looked at the dance floor, saw the beautiful women moving to the music, and confidently replied, "Nothing's wrong. I've just finally found my charm." After saying that, Hal headed back to the dance floor to enjoy the feeling of being surrounded by what he perceived as absolute beauty. The next day on his way to work, Hal spots a woman who looks absolutely breathtaking. To him, she has a perfect complexion, a stunning physique, and an incredible aura, the kind of perfect match he simply can't let slip away. He follows her into a shopping mall and notices her picking out some oversized lingerie. Hal approaches her, trying to break the ice by saying, "Excuse me, but those seem a bit large, don't they?" The woman looks at him, confused, and just shakes her head. Hal, feeling overly confident, continues with a joke. "You must have ripped a sail on your sailboat, right?" Hal thinks he's being hilarious, but to the girl, it just seems like a bizarre remark. She decides to ignore him, but Hal, who is well used to rejection, doesn't let it bother him at all. He boldly invites her out for some burgers. Surprised by the sudden approach and seeing that he doesn't seem to be joking, the woman, whose name is Rosemary, actually agrees to go. As soon as they arrive at the restaurant, Rosemary orders a massive amount of food. Hal thinks she's just kidding around, but moments later, Rosemary's chair unexpectedly snaps. Hal rushes over to help her up, feeling a strange amount of pressure, but he doesn't think much of it. Instead, he calls the manager over and criticizes the place, saying that a high-end restaurant shouldn't be using such low-quality furniture. Deep down, Rosemary feels a bit self-conscious, as she can't believe Hal keeps referring to her as a petite girl. Outside the restaurant, two rude guys start mocking Rosemary, making insensitive comments about her size and her choice of food. Rosemary doesn't say a word, but Hal can't stand to see her being treated that way, so he steps back into the restaurant to confront them. Hal stands his ground and tells the guys, "I get it. You're just jealous because you aren't with a girl as stunning as she is. Being with Rosemary is the best thing that's happened to me." The two guys just trade looks and glance out the window, with one of them muttering, "Yeah, we're definitely not going to argue with you on that one." Rosemary is deeply moved, as this is the first time someone has ever stepped up to defend her. The two of them hit it off instantly, and before they know it, they've arrived at her place. Since it's getting late, Hal tries his luck and invites Rosemary up to his apartment, but she politely declines. She's lived her whole life believing that someone like her couldn't possibly be liked that way. Hal feels pretty bummed out and later asks his friends if there's something wrong with him since he keeps getting turned down. His friends jokingly reply, "Oh, for sure, there's definitely something wrong with your eyes, buddy." To Hal's surprise, Rosemary shows up the very next day. She confesses that she couldn't stop thinking about their meeting all night and asks Hal out on an official date. Hal is over the moon and agrees immediately. However, as they spend more time together, Hal starts noticing some bizarre things. For instance, while they're sharing a drink, the cup suddenly tilts to an extreme angle, as if by magic. Hal just brushes it off, wondering if they started making cups with some weird new design. Later at the pool, Hal excitedly announces he's going to perform a spectacular dive. But when he hits the water, it creates a massive splash that soaks everything. Rosemary isn't exactly impressed and tells him to move aside so she can show him how it's done. Their relationship moves fast, and soon Rosemary takes Hal home to meet her parents. Right at the front door, Rosemary gives Hal a quick kiss to help calm his nerves before they head inside. The moment they step inside, Hal and Rosemary's father recognize each other instantly. It turns out her dad is actually the big boss at the company where Hal works. In front of Rosemary, the boss acts friendly enough, but the second she's out of earshot, he pulls Hal aside and says, "You're actually into my daughter? You must be working overtime just to get your hands on my fortune." Hal looks over at Rosemary, confused, and asks what could possibly be wrong with someone as perfect as her. The boss looks at his daughter and scoffs. "Oh, keep playing up, kid. I couldn't even lift her when she was only 3 years old." Hal is completely bewildered. He figures that because the boss is surrounded by beautiful women all day, he just sees his own daughter as ordinary. Hal starts feeling a sense of injustice, believing that physical appearance shouldn't define a person. It's the beauty within that truly counts. To him, Rosemary is a kind-hearted soul, a rare find that isn't easy to come by. He even thinks the boss deserves a wake-up call for failing to appreciate his own daughter. It finally makes sense to Hal why someone as stunning as Rosemary constantly talks about being unattractive. It's because she grew up with a father like that. That night, Hal confidently walks Rosemary home. Looking at her, what he perceives as a captivating figure, he feels a rush of excitement. But when Rosemary tosses him a pair of oversized lingerie, he's left feeling a bit puzzled once again. The next day, the boss calls Hal into his office and announces that Hal has been promoted to vice president of the company. Now, Hal has it all. He's in love, and his career is skyrocketing. His life seems to be going perfectly smooth, yet he can't shake the feeling that everyone around him is constantly pointing and whispering behind his back. It seems that having such a stunning girlfriend has made Hal the target of some serious jealousy. Hal decides he needs to work even harder to be worthy of Rosemary. His best friend, Mauricio, tries to warn him, saying, "A girl with a physique like hers is way out of your league, man. You should just break it off now." Hal just laughs it off, replying, "Break up? And you call yourself my best friend?" After being questioned over and over, Hal finally confesses that he met a famous self-help guru who gave him a little boost in the romance department. Mauricio senses something is off and tracks down the guru, only to discover the startling truth. The guru explains that he helped Hal see the inner beauty of people. He placed a powerful spiritual filter over Hal's eyes, so now Hal only perceives those with beautiful souls as physically attractive. Conversely, people who might look good on the outside but have a mean spirit appear unattractive to him. Mauricio is furious, arguing that this is basically a form of deception. But the guru simply shrugged it off, asking, "So what's the big deal?" Mauricio threatens to call the authorities if the guru doesn't snap Hal back to reality. Unfortunately, after some convincing, the guru reveals the dehypnosis trigger phrase to Mauricio. Later that night, Hal is out on another date with Rosemary. And, right on cue, the restaurant chair snaps under Rosemary's weight once again. As Hal goes to find the manager to complain, his friend calls him and recites the trigger phrase over the phone. Just like that, the spell is broken, and Hal's vision finally returns to normal. As the spell wears off, Hal's world completely changes in the blink of an eye. He looks over at Rosemary, but for a moment, he doesn't even recognize her. He thinks a stranger has taken her place at the table. Confused and overwhelmed, Hal starts to distance himself, struggling to reconcile the person he fell in love with the person he now sees in front of him. He even goes on a date with a woman who is traditionally attractive but has a shallow personality, only to realize he feels absolutely nothing for her. He finally understands that the guru's filter didn't lie to him. It actually showed him the most important truth. Hal rushes to find Rosemary before she leaves for a volunteer mission overseas. He catches up to her and confesses that while his eyes were once clouded, his heart has never been clearer. He tells her that she is the most beautiful person he has ever known, not because of a magic spell, but because of her kindness and her spirit. Rosemary is hesitant at first, fearing he's just being polite, but Hal proves his sincerity by choosing her over everyone else. In the end, Hal realizes that true attraction isn't about meeting a certain physical standard. It's about the connection you share with someone who makes you a better person. The two of them reunite, proving that when you look with your heart instead of just your eyes, you find a beauty that never fades. What she doesn't realize is that Hal actually turned down his neighbor's advances. In fact, that interaction only made him realize that Rosemary is his one true love. Determined to make things right, Hal stands up, ready to call Rosemary and confess everything. He wants to tell her that no matter what she looks like or what others might say, he will never leave her side. However, Rosemary is actually standing right there in the same room. Because the spell has been broken, but doesn't even recognize her and politely asks her to step aside so he can pass. Just like that, the woman he loves becomes a total stranger to him. Heartbroken, Rosemary rushes out. When Hal finally calls her, she picks up just long enough to tell him off, calling him a jerk before hanging up and refusing to hear another word. The next day, Hal visits the hospital where Rosemary spends her time volunteering. She isn't there, but a young patient with visible medical bandages greets him. As Hal looks around, he realizes this is the exact same place where he and Rosemary had one of their first dates. Back then, under the guru's influence, Hal only saw what he perceived as perfect children, never realizing he was actually in a specialized pediatric care unit for recovery. Seeing the reality now, Hal finally understands just how incredibly kind and selfless Rosemary truly is. He rushes to her house, and upon entering, he sees a woman with a larger build. Thinking it's Rosemary, Hal runs over to embrace her, but luckily, Rosemary's mother intervenes just in time. Eventually, Hal tracks Rosemary down at a farewell party. She tells him to get lost, but Hal refuses to budge. He explains the whole situation about being under a spiritual spell and pours his heart out to her once more. He tells her, "I don't know if you'll give me another chance, but I want to spend the rest of my life making it up to you." These heartfelt words truly touch Rosemary's heart, and finally, Hal gets to hold the woman he loves in his arms, even if she feels a little more substantial than he originally imagined. Rosemary just smiles and tells him, "You better let go and let me take the lead on this one." What do you think about this heartwarming conclusion? Does true beauty really come from within? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss out on more amazing movie recaps coming your way.